What if you could turn your passion for helping others into a career that changes lives, starting with your own? Join Empower's Certified Professional Empower Coach Academy, accredited by the ICF and powered by Oregon State University. Our next cohort begins February 28th. Visit yesempower.com to reserve your spot today.
Welcome to Rewired. I'm your host, Tiffany Grimes with Empower Coaching and Training. Okay, Rewired listeners, I have a treat for you today. Not only do I have the opportunity to work with this amazing woman, I had the opportunity to sit down and interview her last week, and I get to share that with you today. Nancy Hauschildt is a professional certified coach through the International Coaching Federation. She's also a certified mentor coach through ICF, which is that International Coaching Federation. And she's also a Clifton Strength certified coach. She is also senior faculty at Empower Coaching and Training's Empower Coach Training Academy for our CPEC certification, which is an ICF Level 1 accredited coach training program embedded within Oregon State University. Nancy equips aspiring coaches to master the art and science of coaching. I get to see her do this all of the time, and it is truly wonderful to see her bring her expertise to the world and to coaches in training. She's known as the Presence Impact Coach. She helps individuals, leaders, and teams cultivate authentic leadership, influence, and presence, driven by a mission to raise global consciousness. Nancy is passionate about fostering meaningful connections and guiding organizations to build coaching cultures that spark lasting and transformative impact. I also learned in my interview with her that she is the newly appointed president of the Orange County ICF chapter. So it's no surprise that what I'm talking to Nancy about today is being a coach backed by the International Coaching Federation. So if you are seeking coaching, if you are thinking about becoming a coach, I think you'll find today's podcast very informative. We are ICF believers and practices and accredited both training providers and coaching around here at Empower Coaching and Training. And so I can't tell you enough about how powerful coaching is, and also how powerful it is to work with an ICF-backed coach or to become an ICF-backed coach. So Nancy's going to share some of that information with us today, and I'm so excited for you to meet her. And before we get to our interview with Nancy, I also just want to remind everyone that we are accepting listener questions. We've had some great ones come through. I'll cover a couple of them in the solo episodes. We've got one coming up next week, which I'm really excited to bring to you. I'll talk about it at the end of today's episode. If you have a question about professional growth, personal growth, the neuroscience of change, if you want to do something different, if you want to do something better, we'd love to have your questions. You can email those questions to Tiffany at yesempower.com. You can also send that through LinkedIn, and I've got both of those links down in the show notes, so check it out. Nancy, welcome to the Rewired podcast. I am just giddy that you're here and that I get to spend an hour or so with you in conversation. So welcome to Rewired.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here as well, Tiffany.
And I'm starting each segment with just a question to you, to each of our podcast guests, and I'd love to hear from you. What does empowerment mean to you, and what's making you feel empowered these days?
Great question. Thank you for that. And, I want to say that earlier this week, I was at a group mentor coaching call with my mentor. And one of our assignments was to listen to this podcast. It's called On Being with Krista Tippett.
Oh, yes.
You know her? Okay.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
know she puts out great stuff.
Yeah.
And there was an episode that we got to listen to called How to Be Grateful in Every Moment, but not for everything. There was a little caveat.
Oh, I love
So,
that.
so I loved it. Yeah, highly recommend. But there was something about that conversation that really landed for me in the sense, in the connection between joy and what you're speaking about, empowerment, and a sense of groundedness and being at one with who you are. And the core idea of what I got from it is that joy is not something that you chase. And I know that you probably can relate because joy is one of your core values, I know.
Yes.
So anyway, so I heard in the podcast that joy is a deep sense of belonging to yourself, to the moment, and to life itself. And I love that. And they obviously they talk about gratitude as the practice that reconnects you to that deeper source of yourself. And so when I heard that, it just like that's what empowerment is to me.
Yeah.
Is exactly that. It's just being grounded in who you are as a human being and being there, present in the moment, and in the trust, the self-trust that comes with knowing who you are, what you bring to the world, to a conversation, to the room. To me, that's power. And it has nothing to do with experience or titles or being a beginner at something. It's this groundedness and trusting yourself and knowing who you are. And I think that's really powerful for me to be in that space, because when you are grounded in who you are, it's hard for life to knock you off center. I mean, of course, we all get knocked off center every once in a while, but it's a sense of trust that even when you get knocked off center, you know that you can bring yourself back. There's some resilience within you that you know that you're going to be okay. And when you're not grounded in who you are, anything new, anything that is different will feel like a threat to your identity, a threat to your being. And so I think that's what empowerment is to me, is like
Yeah.
being grounded in that. Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
and
so
yeah.
good. It made me think of a couple things. One, joy, you started talking about joy and that work from Krista Tippett, and like it's not something we chase because it's not outside of us, and that's kind of this empowerment piece of it, is like it's inside, it's what we create, it's how we meet each day. And then the other thing that you said is, we might get hit by life, but we're not taken off center. And it made me think about, I don't know what you played with as a small child, but I had Weeble Wobbles. Did you have Weeble Wobbles? They were like these egg-shaped characters, and their whole thing was like Weeble Wobbles Weeble, but they don't fall down. You like push them. It makes me think we need to have like an empowerment Weeble Wobble.
I love that as a metaphor. Yes, I'll have to look it up. I didn't have that as a child.
So funny.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that is an excellent start to this podcast. And we could talk about 1,000 things, but today we're going to focus on coaching, specifically through the lens of ICF, International Coaching Federation. And we're going to get to in a moment what is ICF. I talked about just a moment ago your introduction, that you and I have the opportunity to work in an ICF-backed training program. So we're going to talk all about the details of that in a moment. But what I want to start with is just your own journey into coaching as a professional coach. What drew you into the world of coaching, and what you can ultimately, what drew you to ICF and to pursue your many certifications that you've done? I know it's well beyond ICF and PCC and beyond, but specifically, I guess I want to know what brought you to coaching.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Ready to make a real difference? Become a certified professional coach with Empower Coaching and Training. Our next CPEC cohort, accredited by the International Coaching Federation and offered in partnership with Oregon State University, starts February 28th. Spots are limited. Learn more at yesempower.com.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I am a nurse by background. So I did that for about 20 years before I came into coaching. And I was always, I always loved personal and professional development, even in my nursing career, whenever they had programs that would help us develop personally. I was always in love with being all about that. But it was after the birth of my youngest child that I took some time off of nursing to be a mom. And, a year or so later, I did have a plan to go back to nursing, but a year or so later, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And then from there, I never went back to nursing. But, it was a very sort of growing and sort of like this experience for me that had me thinking about who am I? It was a
The
very
cancer
disorient. Yes, yes,
diagnosis. Is that what you
yes.
mean?
And
Yeah.
in the treatment and going through all of that, I had a lot of time to think about myself. And, there's something when you think about life and death that has you asking more existential questions. And I think I was in that state at the time in a very good way, I think. And so I think these two threads collided where, I was always interested in this personal professional development, but that experience actually had me seek more personal and professional growth and development. So I started taking all these classes. And then, the second thing is that I got to experience coaching for myself. And so when I saw what coaching can do, I mean, I saw it in classes that I took, and I experienced people getting coached. I got coached myself. Just the clarity that it brought me, the presence level work that we would get to go through, the identity level work that we get to go through, all of that, it just kind of changed. It changed my perspective. Yeah. And so I thought, I want to do this thing. I want to do this thing. And so then I sought out professional training, and that was 11 years ago. And I did pursue the ICF path, initially because I believe in that professional coaching is a responsibility in a way. You're holding space. You're holding space for another human being and their life, whatever they present. And so there's professional training that is required, and ethics and a standard of excellence. So I take that, very seriously. And so I went through the ICF path, which is the rest of the story. And this is why I'm here. Kept going all the way from ACC now to PCC, and now exploring my path onto MCC.
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, I know, again, we're going to focus on ICF, but just also one of the things that I A, tease you about, but B, because I love it about you, is that you are always on an educational pathway. You are one of the most well-trained coaches that I know, and you live into it, and you are in a constant place of excellence, maintaining and growing your excellence as a person and as a coach in the space you hold for others. And so I'm curious if you could also tell us about, other trainings you're doing, other certifications you're doing that have also grown you as a coach, and degrees. And I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I'm probably overly trained. I was working with my mentor coach, and she told me, you don't need any more training. Don't take any more training.
Check the box, girlfriend. Check the box.
Yeah, no, but I am a lifelong student, and I think a lot of us coaches can relate to that. We love to learn, and I've always been intrigued. Maybe if I didn't become a coach, I would have had a degree in philosophy or something like that, because I love to study just human beings. I'm always intrigued by what behavior, our motivation, what motivates us human being to go a certain direction or not. And so I'm an observer. I used to, when I was in junior high, I used to go to the malls and just sit in a bench and people watch. And so people are very interesting to me. And so I've studied, social emotional intelligence, organizational leadership, Clifton Strengths. I'm a Clifton Strengths certified coach. And I'm always I'm always learning because I'm intrigued, even by my own self and my own brain.
Yeah.
And so I'm always doing a little bit of something, and not it doesn't feel like a have to for me. I think it's just a part of an extension of who I am, that I'm probably always going to be learning a little bit about the complexity of what it means to be a human being. It's all great work. And I love having conversations with people who are in that same space, who are doing research. I have friends who are researchers and PhDs and all of that. And I just love to pick their brain on what they do with their research and what they're learning about human development. And, it's just fascinating to me. Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's talk then. Let's start to get into the world of ICF, International Coaching Federation. And, I have for our program that we co-facilitate along with Nanor, the Certified Professional Empower Coach program. I do an information session every Thursday, and folks who are learning about our program come. And it's really interesting to me how many people come specifically because they know we are an ICF accredited school and they want that. They don't know much more than that. They don't know why they want it or what they'll do with it,
Yeah.
but they know that there's a distinction between, in this unregulated landscape of coaching, there is a distinction between ICF accreditation and non-ICF accreditation. And so, in your own words, what is the International Coaching Federation, and why does it matter in this field of coaching that somebody is ICF backed, whether it's ACC, PCC, or MCC, all the pieces of ICF? Why does ICF matter to the coaching world?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Ready to level up how you lead at work and at home? Empower Coaching and Training brings brain-based coaching, mindfulness tools, and real-world strategies you can share with those you serve and live with. Get started now. Visit us at yesempower.com.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I mean, as you know, and we talked about in the previous question, I've done many trainings. I've done an ICF accredited coach training program, and I did also a non-ICF accredited coach training program. They were both excellent programs, but I think what distinguishes the International Coaching Federation is that they are a global governing body for professional coaching, and they are wanting to establish standards for the coaching profession and give it legitimacy. And so they define what coaching is, what coaching is not. They created the competencies that are required to do coaching well, that serves the client. Of course, they provide this ethical standards also for coaching. They give us this credentialing process that coaches can go through, and really the oversight that protects our clients. And so I think that is very important because, as you know, coaching is unregulated and anyone can really call themselves a coach these days. And so I think without a central body like the ICF, the coaching space kind of would be, and probably can be in some spaces, a free-for-all for everything and anything, really. And so I think what the ICF does is that it brings a structure, a rigor, and accountability for in ethical oversight, of course, and also a shared language that really anchors the entire profession of coaching. And so I think in the broader sense of the word, it creates trust for our clients. It's the difference between somebody who just really just has a passion for helping people and they're, wanting to coach people, but without really that training that is required. As coaches, we are evaluated, we are held to these standards of excellence that the ICF created. And I think that's what really makes it unique as an organization that sets it apart from everything else that is out there.
Yeah, yeah. And, part of the thing that I think about is we have to as ICF certified coaches, we also have to every 3 years complete continuing education credits and really ensuring that we stay current in our understanding of the ethics and the neuroscience and really what the art and science of coaching really is and how to do it and how to use the most current research and practices.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a great point because the coaching field is evolving. It's growing as a profession. We're babies.
Yeah, it's
We're
true.
babies. And there's so many influences that have sort of infiltrated the field. And so it's important that us coaches, we stay current and we stay on top of the evolving nature of coaching. And so, yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned this a little bit, but I want to dive a little bit deeper if we can. ICF is the gold standard, and I don't know if that is a self-given title. I don't know who is the rating system for that, but as a coach in the world of, having been out in this world for over a decade now doing professional coaching, I do see it as the gold standard. If I matter, I would definitely give it the gold stamp. It is so prescribed and so detailed and so it adds such community. I know you're on the board of Orange County ICF. I'm involved in the Oregon chapter of ICF. It gives us community. It keeps us networked. It keeps us trained and together as a community. And so we hear that ICF is the gold standard. And so from your perspective, and again, you're PCC certified, I'm going to say MCC curious, and you're deeply engaged within the ICF community. What actually makes ICF so valuable to the coach, right? So what you described before was maybe more for the industry, but what does it do for me as the coach?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know that the gold standard can sound like a slogan, but really I think the value of accreditation as a coach is what it really represents. First of all, you're part of a globally recognized organization. Being involved in not just my local chapters, but other coaching circles, I work with people from all over the world, different countries, students that I train with that are from all over the world, and everybody, and they're all well versed in the ICF. So first of all, there is that it is globally recognized, not just in coaching, but in organizations. In organizations that actually hire coaches,
Right.
and so we know that they exist and that they're important. As a coach, you cannot fake your way to an ICF credential, and you
No.
cannot pay your way into the ICF credential. I can take a weekend training course, or a 3-month training coach, and pay a lot of money to become a coach, and I can call myself a coach at the end of it. But you can't really do that with the ICF. They create the standards of what is required at every level of certification that they provide. So you really can't just pay your way or fake your way into an ICF.
You must demonstrate your
You
way.
must demonstrate the competencies in real sessions. You must be evaluated by trained assessors. You must show that you can coach, not teach, not advise, not mentor, not, consult, but to truly, truly coach. And so I think there is value in that rigor that they create for us, because when you do get accredited or certified as a coach, it signals to the world who is familiar with this that you are trained, that you are practiced, that you've been evaluated, that you've been upheld to a professional standard that separates us, from a casual conversation or a directive conversation, which is often sometimes what I hear in YouTube videos that I find of
Exactly.
other perhaps non-ICF accredited coaching. And so I think that means something as a coach when you can feel proud of the rigor that you had to go through to get certified, and also as a school, I think it matters equally that you become an accredited at school, because you know that as a school, you've been vetted, you've been audited, you've been approved to deliver this training that actually produces competent coaches at the end of the day. So
every 3 years.
yeah.
Right. And so in that same way that it's holding coaches accountable, it holds us as the training bodies accountable. We have to be re-vetted and reapply and make sure that we're still meeting all those ICF guidelines. And that we're building it all in. So good. The other thing I think about is, again, because of the school, part of what we do, the Empower Coach Training Academy, we're constantly working with people with like, what can you do with this certification? And so we just recently we'll go and just go look at some of the larger places that are contracting and hiring coaches. And so we do that, I would say, every 6 months. And what we're noticing is there's more of them now. There's many more places that people can contract with, and B, more and more they are requiring the ICF certification. I know at Empower, we do a lot of contracting with state contracts. We do contracts with K through 12 school systems, and it's required to have that ICF backing. It's for folks to be able to say, it's that vetting system. We know at a minimum you're reaching these standards. Now, who you are and how you show up and all those things obviously matter as well, but you don't even get into the room if you don't have that ICF accreditation.
Very true.
Makes it very valuable, for sure. So let's talk about credibility and confidence, and really kind of dive a little bit more into the core comps, essentially, of ICF. So how does being ICF accredited elevate a coach's professionalism? We talked about that, but really through that lens of core comps. So how does it elevate ethics, the trust that the client can place in the coaching relationships? Talk to us about the core competencies. This is really the piece that you hold so dearly in our program. What are those, and how does it help elevate a student or a coach?
Yeah. Well, as we said previously, students must be able to demonstrate the core competencies. And without going through all of them, there are 8, and there are sub-competencies within each of those competencies that really define the framework that the ICF created for us. And that's pretty significant, because when we are being assessed as coaches, we must be able to demonstrate those competencies. And so all of that we learn as in our training, how to hold space for our client, how to give them the autonomy to choose where they want to go in the conversation, who they, what outcome they want. We learn about confidentiality. We learn about boundaries, power dynamics, ethical standards, informed consent, things like that. We talk a lot about psychological safety. So all of that are embedded into the core competencies. There are themes that we really sometimes don't think that deeply about, but for sure in your training, we're gonna talk through all of these things that create space for the client's transformation and their evolution, and really what they want from. So I think the advantage for coaches is that in how we partner with our clients. And I think that's something that probably is not, where at least I have not seen, at least from my experience, not really taught in depth when at other non-ICF accredited schools. For us, that partnership is hugely important. And it's seeing your client as an equal partner in the conversation, not showing up as the authority. And so we learn to listen to our clients at a level that they may not have ever been listened to. And that's really an honor to be able to do that, to be able to create that psychological safety where, our clients, they have to show up in a certain way in different areas of their life, buttoned up. They have to be a professional in their careers, or they have to be this in other. But in the space of coaching, they could just be candid and be themselves. There's no expectation for them to show up any other way than to be themselves. And when you can create that space for them, it really can be magical. And I think that's what sets ICF certified coaches apart, is that we learn how to do all that. We learn how to do that. And it is an evolution, but we create that space for our clients to move forward with them and not for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that partnership. I love that. And really speaks to holding, you're not here to listen to me consult you on how to live your life better or how to lead better or how to be in relationship better. You are the expert in your life. And that I think is so much. I mean, there's so much that ICF offers, but that I remember being a nugget that when I first started my training and certification, that I really had to wrap my head around, honestly, because I was listening to people like, I'm listening, and because I'm going to come in and I'm going to tell you a different way to do this, or, I'm going to catch where I think you might be doing it right or wrong. And that is so not what happens in an ICF coaching relationship. It truly is a partner, and it's reflection. It's really listening. It's pointing out strengths that you're hearing and maybe conflicting messaging. And I love that idea that our job as an ICF backed coach is to help people understand themselves and lean into their own excellence and find within them what is blocking that excellence. And that we are kind of I think about it as like the orchestrator of the moment, right? But we're not on stage. We're not on stage.
Yeah, 100%. And I have worked with non-ICF coaches that are excellent. So I don't want to give off the impression that non-ICF accredited schools or coaches are not skilled. I do want to be responsible in that, because I have worked with some excellent coaches out there that are not necessarily accredited by the ICF. But having said that, as you mentioned before, organizations, if you want to be a coach and work for organizations, they are looking for that accreditation, ICF accreditation. And I think it's because it really means something. So even for your listeners that are listening to this podcast, hopefully what you glean from this is that if you hire an ICF certified coach, you can recognize that you are engaging with somebody who has been professionally trained in ethics, in trust and safety, in deep partnership, and not with somebody who may have minimal knowledge of that.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, that's an important reflection. Absolutely. Yeah, really good. Okay, so I know I've been certified. I've been with ICF for many years now. I've started my coaching journey about the same time you did, it sounds like. And I still can get overwhelmed by the amount. I call it prescription. These are the words I use every week when I'm talking to new students. Like, ICF is very prescribed. There are so many layers of it. And just like you described, there's core competencies and then there's sub competencies, and how we express those are different on the different levels of certification. And so don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to break down all of ICF, but can you at least break down what ACC, PCC, and MCC progression looks like, and why the structure itself supports a coach's growth and mastery? And then the other thing, I guess I just want to say, that is the end of that question. So that's the question. But I guess I'm just reflecting on, I don't think that, this is my experience, so I guess I'm curious what your thought is. I don't think ICF is set up in a way where the progression from ACC to PCC to MCC is the expectation. Like, one can come in at any level and find that this is enough for what I'm doing, right? I might not, the goal is not to enter and everybody progress to an MCC. Absolutely not. And so I guess speaking to that, how does a person decide where do I go? Why ACC versus PCC versus MCC? And so tell us all about all those
Yes.
letters.
Oh, yeah. So much.
Associate, professional, and master, I guess is what I should have
Yeah.
been saying.
Yeah, yeah. So great question. And as you were speaking, I'm nodding.
Yeah.
Yes, because you're absolutely right in the sense that nobody needs to follow that progression. And some people come in and they're just so natural. I mean, they're already seem to be at a higher level than somebody who is just starting out in their journey. So, there's room for all of it. And less than a prescription, I see it more like there's a progression in our own evolution as coaches. And so I think what ICF is doing is kind of sort of creating a process that we can naturally see how we progress. Because as I was saying earlier, in my love for professional development or human behavior, is that we are complex human beings. Human beings are complex, and so there's so many layers to who we are. And so I think that the progression from ACC to PCC to MCC is sort of like a natural development path, if you will, that each one sort of builds on the other in our experience as coaches. So we as coaches are constantly growing and deepening our capacity, deepening our presence, deepening our own internal awareness of who we are as coaches. Our listening becomes more defined. So as we are experiencing coaching, as we are coaching real clients, we are accumulating real world experience. And so it evolves, right? We think listening is one thing, and we may be listening, and I can talk about more that on the levels, but I think we progress as coaches. So I think that's the key piece, is that these levels exist because coaching is a complex relational discipline, right? When you're with another human being, we are complex. And so these skills sort of evolve, and not in a step-by-step process necessarily, but we learn how to show up ourselves as coaches, and it evolves, how we show up. So at ACC level, we're learning the foundation of coaching. It's where we learn the core competencies deeply, and we are grounding ourselves with the ethics of coaching, and we're practicing how to coach. And for a lot of us, we start practicing coaching and we are focusing on the what, right? Like we're focusing on the, what is that the client wants? What is the goal? And we may be very helpful and wanting to support our client to get them to that goal. And so we're learning the art of deep listening. And some people, like I said, some people are super already intuitive and great at it. And so it could run the gamut, right? With who we are, but we're learning those skills. If you're brand new to coaching, that's sort of where you are. You start to learn, what is it? And so at the level one, what is required from a level one training, you're going to have 60 hours of coach training education. To be certified as an associate certified coach, you must have 100 hours of coaching experience and demonstrated the competencies for that. And so that's the foundation of coaching, is where we're learning how to develop all of those skills. And then at PCC, we're learning how to be. We've already have those 100 hours, and for certification purposes, we must accumulate 500 hours. And so what that means, if we don't get caught up in the hours, but really what it means in practice is that we're becoming more proficient in our coaching. We're learning the skills that is, listening deeper.
Mm-hmm.
We're listening beyond the what of the goal, but we're listening to the who of the person. And so we do that through the experience. We've coached 500, hours of coaching. And so we're learning how to listen at those deeper levels and go beyond, the sort of foundational competencies. We're starting to notice the nuances and more around the who.
Yeah.
And so, and then MCC level is, which is the path that I'm on. You have a lot more experience at that point to be qualified to apply for MCC certification. You've accumulated 2,500 hours of coaching experience, and I think this is why. When I hear MCC level coaches, they sound so natural. It really is fully coaching the who of the client, and the what just naturally follows that, and it looks very effortless, but it's anything but, because MCC level coaches are really grounded in who they are. It's very defined, it's very attuned, it's very precise. And so that just comes from experience of coaching a lot of clients and really noticing and picking up on the nuances. I think we learn to listen on multiple levels with all of our senses. We are aware of ourselves and what's happening for us, all of that. And none of that, of course, can be rushed. And I think that to answer your question, there is a progression that happens in our experience as coaches. So we're not at the end in the beginning. There's so much to learn about all of it, ourselves and our clients and all of that. So I see that, as the natural progression, evolution of one's journey as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. I know when I went Oregon, our Oregon chapter just had its first conference last year, which was really great. And I had the opportunity, Empower helped sponsor it. And then I had the opportunity to teach a workshop there as well. And while a whole lot of things stood out about that conference, there was one particular nugget that kind of blew my mind, which was, I'm going to get the number wrong. So I'm going to assume up. I'm going to say this is a higher number, but I want to say the number of MCC, so Master Certified Coaches in Oregon, was less than 5. I want to say it was 3, but it's less than 5, right? So it's like really diving into that. This is what I am. This is who I am. This is everything that, like, everything is aligning with this. It just stood out to me. It was amazing. And beyond just the 2,500 hours, there's also, along with each one of those, there's deeper competencies, right? And more mentorship hours and more observed coaching and another assessment, another test, these proctored exams by ICF. So really thinking about, all of those things as folks are considering their pathway and what to do. And that one can start at an ACC and slowly build and move up if they want to. And one can start at an ACC and find that that's perfect. That's enough. And I stay here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because in real life, we have clients, that don't want that deep level work. They really just want, to get from A to Z or A to C, and that's perfectly okay. And so there is no expectation for any coach to get to a certain level. It really is your own personal preference and really your philosophy as a coach. How do you want to support your clients? But the ICF core competencies are designed to support our clients to that deeper level of transformation if they desire, and to train coaches who are qualified to guide that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. So many layers, lots of stuff folks can do to learn more about that. And to, there's the ICF website is so full of information. So if folks ever want to go there and learn more about that, for sure.
Yeah.
I know in that info session I mentioned I do every Thursday, we'll have some people who have a little bit of knowledge and they'll start to ask questions. And I'm like, oh, we could spend an hour, talking about just this conversation and all of the different layers of ICF and just so many layers of how it's the scaffolding, really. There's so many layers of this and how to build if one wants to.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots there to learn.
Yeah. So I mentioned this earlier, but I want to just hear a little bit from you. So you serve on the Orange County ICF board, which is another opportunity. We have ICF chapters in every, I think I'm going to say this right. We have one, at least one in every state. And then in some states, like your California, it's long and big and has many people. And so you have multiple chapters. In Oregon, we have one chapter. But tell me, what have you learned from being inside that ICF community, and how has that network influenced your own growth and identity and confidence as a coach? And then I'd also just ask kind of a bigger picture, because while this question's focused on your experience with it, what happens in these little chapters, these little state chapters that would make them of interest for others?
Yeah. Well, I love being part of the local community, even more so now as I'm evolving as a coach, because it is really a local arm, if you will, or a local extension of the ICF Global. So we have the support from ICF Global that is really encouraging the chapters to be that local support for coaches at all levels of their development. And so I wish I would have taken advantage actually of the local community early on my journey as a coach. I tend to be a little bit introverted, so I didn't just a lot of social events felt draining to me, but actually now knowing what I know now, I wish I would have taken advantage of that because
Well, and especially because they literally have networking events. I do the same thing, like, ooh, the networking.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. Some people
Yeah.
love it and lean into it. And I think you and I are similar in that, like, ooh, this
Yeah.
is where I leave. But it's so
Yeah.
good. They're so good.
Yes, they are. And you know, and every chapter is a little bit different. They have their unique little culture and the things that they like to do. And so every chapter is a little bit different, but they are designed to give coaches all stages of their development the support that they need. What do they need to start their business if that's what they're wanting to do? What do they need to learn? How do they stay abreast of all the information that ICF Global offers that can be overwhelming when you're starting your journey as a coach? So that local chapter provides, you know, that structure of how do we break this down? What do we need to know? And so it brings programming. Like, for example, in our chapter, we have a whole programming team and we talk about what are the trends in coaching? What do we want to offer our community? What's important for them to know? We do surveys. We do surveys for our membership. What do they want to hear? What's important to them that we cover in our chapters? And so networking is a you know, part of it, but there's so much more education that you can learn at a local level. And of course, the connections are wonderful. Sometimes as coaching can feel like a lonely endeavor. You're kind of trying to learn all these things on your own. And if you're wanting to start your own coaching practice, it can feel, you know, overwhelming sometimes. Where do I begin? And so knowing other people who are on your same trajectory or even, you know, above that, who have been in your shoes, having that support and that ability to connect with other people and receive mentorship or receive, you know, just somebody to talk to about that is so supportive. And so now, well, next year I'm going to be president of our local chapter. And so,
Yay! You heard it here
yeah.
first, folks. That's so exciting, Nancy. Congratulations.
Thank you. It is exciting. And so we're developing all this programming in partnership with all the board members. And my desire is to go to schools, go to local schools and talk about the importance of really staying plugged in and connected. Because there is a wealth of resources that many people, because they may be a little shy or something, they may not, you know, come out and explore how supportive having a community really is. And so in our chapter, for example, we make a commitment to speak to those, you know, people that are the wallflowers, the people that are really shy to come. I personally call every single member. I'm membership director this year. And so any new member that comes in our way, I pick up the phone, I call them, I welcome them, I tell them, hey, If you're a shy person and that's keeping you from coming, look for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there standing at the door, smiling, looking for you. And I'm going to introduce you to members, because I wish I had that. Honestly, if somebody would have held my hand that way and told me, I'm gonna take care of you. That, oh my gosh, that would just put me at ease.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and
So
so
you have in-person events. Do you also have virtual
we
events?
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have in-person events and we have virtual events. We try to mix it up to meet the needs of all people. And so yeah, it's just so important. I think being in community, if you can really muster up the courage to go to these events, they're really supportive. And one thing that is important is that local chapters want to hear from you. What are your needs? So it's not just like, oh, here's what we offer. What do you want? So if there's something specifically that you want and need as a coach, wherever you are in your process, let them know. Let your local chapter know, because that's what they want to hear. It's really for the community. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Madam President, let's so we've been talking about, ICF, this big thing that is ICF and how it's available to so many folks. And I want to talk now about, to the listeners who are on the fence about maybe going and getting a coaching certification. And of course, you and I might be a little biased about our own Empower Coach Training Academy because we are ICF accredited. We believe in it wholeheartedly. We didn't even operate a school until we got that accreditation. What would you say to the listeners who are thinking about investing in an ICF accredited pathway like CPEC? Why does it matter for their long-term success and integrity and impact? Why should a person choose, for example, Empower Coach Training Academy?
Well, you're absolutely right. I think our CPEC Academy is one of the best.
Yes.
We have to come up with our own slogan.
I know, we really do. Because, and I'm going to say this to our listeners, you're very well aware of this, but beyond being accredited through the International Coaching Federation at a level 1, we are also embedded within Oregon State University's PACE program, which makes us very, very unique. I think it's been I knew it would be a really great partnership. I was so excited about it. What I didn't realize, one of the benefits that came along with that was that a lot of folks could now utilize their professional development dollars where they couldn't pay us because we're a private LLC, but they could use it for an educational institution. And so folks are able to utilize, as a leader, I can utilize my professional development funds because I'm paying the university directly for this training and it's ICF backed. It's so exciting. So yes, sorry, go ahead. Take it away.
I love that. I love that. Yes. So you asked about when somebody's on the fence
Yeah.
about considering coaching. I would say, I think it's a personal question. Who do you want to be as a coach?
Yeah. I
Who do
love
you want
that.
to be? Like, what is the impact that you want to make as a coach? What kind of experience do you want your clients to have when they work with you? And I think those are important, deeply personal questions that are different for everyone. And so I think that would be a great place to start. If you feel even the slightest pull toward the possibility of coaching at a deeper, higher level, more transformational level, then I think not just dabbling in coaching, but really supporting people in that way, then a program like CPEC is a no-brainer. Because of the standards that the ICF already created, that framework, that standard of excellence. And, we've already talked about how much the coaching industry is maturing. Clients themselves are becoming more and more discerning. Organizations are
Yes.
becoming more selective about who they
Yes.
hire, as you alluded to earlier, that require ICF accredited coaches. And I think that piece is growing in the requirement for companies to hire ICF accredited coaches. So I think there's no downside to get to coming to a school like ours. There is absolutely no downside. Even if you never use it, or if you just do your own thing, and you don't want to be affiliated with any organization that requires any certain level of certification, there is no downside for you if you want to stand out, to be trusted, knowing that there's that background already that is established, well established within the industry, but not just the industry, the world, really. So it's looking at all of those things. So a program like CPEC will give you that foundation. Will give you that foundation of credibility, professionalism, if that's what you're looking for. And I think that's what makes it unique.
Yeah. And I honestly think I was going to say the future of coaching, but the future is now. It's like you had mentioned, where I was, the audience the demographic, the people that sought me out when I got certified, just kind of knew they wanted coaching. They knew they didn't want therapy, but they wanted a little change. And now, 11 years later, 12 years later, people know what coaching is. People understand. Clients are much more sophisticated in their understanding and knowledge of coaching. And so I was going to say the future, but really it's now. It matters now to the folks who are actively seeking coaching, that we know what we're doing through professional certification and demonstration of a skill set. Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Nancy, anything else you want to put into this space while we're here and before we exit out?
Oh, wow. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I hope that this is valuable for your listeners. And we're always here to support anybody who has more curiosity, more questions beyond what we covered here today. I'm happy to talk to anybody who's curious or on the fence. But yeah, just thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here, and I hope people get a lot out of this.
Yeah. And thank you. And, I mentioned those info sessions. I'll put that in the show notes. You also have, just for the listeners, Nancy is not only part of our CPEC Academy, our senior faculty there, but she's also a coach where you can get coached by Nancy and really experience it. So if you're on the fence, the other part of it is, go learn about coaching, but also get coached. Get coached by somebody like Nancy, or Nancy herself, Madam President. I mean, seriously, how awesome is that? And it's life-changing. It's honestly so life-changing. So
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, so much.
Thank you for having me, Tiffany.
All right. Bye-bye. Didn't you just love that conversation with Nancy? I thought it was so wonderful and insightful to speak with her and to hear about all the ways that coaching is so powerful, especially through that ICF lens. Join me next week for a solo podcast. I'm going to focus specifically on a tool that comes from the world of cognitive behavioral therapy and cognitive behavioral coaching. We use it a lot at Empower Coaching and Training, and it's called the TEB or T cycle. Thought, emotion, behavior, or thought, emotion, action. It's same, just different titles. So I'm going to walk you through that, walk you through the neuroscience of that, and then we'll walk through a few examples of how we can really think about our experiences through the lens of what is fact, and then what are my thoughts about those facts, so that I can then choose my behaviors and my actions and be aware of my emotions and really think about the outcomes that I want to create and experience. And it's a really wonderful tool. Please join me. Take care, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Rewired. where neuroscience meets real life change. If you enjoyed today's conversation, I'd be so grateful if you take a moment to leave a 5-star review. Your feedback helps people discover the tools, insights, and inspirations they need to create lasting change. While you're leaving that 5-star review, please also subscribe and share an episode with a friend. Remember, the way you think shapes the way you live. Every intentional thought, every mindful choice rewires your brain and your life. So go live intentionally, live thoughtfully, and never underestimate the power of your own mind to transform your world. Until next time, this is Tiffany with Empower Coaching and Training. Stay curious, stay empowered, and keep rewiring for real change.
Every family has challenges, and every parent deserves support. At Empower Coaching and Training, youth and parenting coach Jasmine Chandler helps parents and young people find clarity, connection, and practical tools that make a difference. Visit yesempower.com to connect with Jasmine and explore our team of incredible coaches today.